Friday, April 20th, and we are in crazy, crazy times. Of course, we've got the Inspector General bringing out reports slowly that indicate that the top brass, or I should say the former top brass at the FBI, are coming in the crosshairs with James Comey cutting his book tour short, according to Laura Loomer, because he is now potentially the target of an Inspector General probe having to do with leaking classified information. And of course, McCabe seems to be defying the Inspector General in a shocking way. My guest today is Pete Santilli. And Pete, thank you for joining me for a second time.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I appreciate it. It's great
to have you back.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Now, I just want to clarify, Pete, you and I have never met. We've spoken maybe 3 or 4 times, including the previous interview that we did, and I do not know the answer to the question of, is Pete Santilli an FBI informant, or was Pete Santilli framed for these things? I'm certainly interested in learning about this because obviously either of those two scenarios are possible. No one is accusing Pete Santilli of being a space alien. So one of these two things must be true. And I'm particularly interested, Pete, because as an independent journalist, as a guy who's been investigating the activities of the BLM and the possible collusion of the BLM and the FBI to basically steal the land of the Bundys and all of the stuff that was going on that you were reporting on 2 years ago, it's not at all inconceivable to me that you could be framed. And of course, I personally have experienced a lot of malicious hacking activities. So I am extremely interested in learning the answer to this, and you've been kind enough to provide me with your evidence. And I would invite you, sir, to take us on a journey here. Before we begin, I just want everyone to know that they can go to your Twitter page. They can follow you. You are at Pete Santilli _. And of course, your regular broadcasts are seen on the PeteSantilliShow.com. And with that, Pete, why don't you take us through the details of what you'd like to share today?
Yeah, Jason, I really appreciate. As a matter of fact, over the years, this thing originally, this quote unquote FBI informant thing, originated back in 2013. I had covered when I launched my show in 2011. I started going down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, trying to factualize stuff. Covered topics such as 9/11. Covered all of those topics that people are most interested in, me being one of them. But I was learning a lot about the truth of the world that we live in right before my listening audience. So I started out with 0 listeners. I was the first listener when I pushed play in December of 2011, and then onward and upward. And basically, I'd come into contact with people such as Dr. Judy Wood. Really delving into the details of what happened on 9/11. I was very intrigued by it. She took a very scientific approach. Once I would say that's when things turned for me. My listening audience was just exploding. We were reaching, I was on the Rents Network at the time. We were reaching a lot of people, and we were exposing the truth, and I was doing a lot of multimedia presentations like you're doing. But after 9/11, that's when we really started to get trolled a lot, and it became much more organized as things went along. And I didn't fully understand what the impact was. Now I started going after Hillary Clinton and exposing the truth about Hillary Clinton. Now, right after Benghazi took place in 2012. What was it? September
11th.
September 11th of 2012. I have we'll call him a friend. His code name is Standoff. He was a friend of mine, trusted. I know him for many, many years. I hadn't spoken with him for 20 years. He was on the ground just a couple days after Benghazi. And when he came back, He had always been listening to my show, but he reached out to me. He said, Santilli, we're on the verge of a military coup. I was on the ground, and this is 1 month after Benghazi when I spoke to him. He said Christopher Stevens was negotiating an arms deal between Al-Qaeda and Libya to be shipped to Al-Qaeda in Syria. And he told me the whole thing. I recorded all these conversations, by the way, and documented everything. And by the way, Gandalf has been wiped off the face of the planet, as you can imagine.
He's dead.
Happened. He's, I haven't spoken to him, and none of our friends have. Now, he also told me, and he's part of the elite of the elite of the elite. He works for the CIA. He was part of Hillary. He's very connected to Hillary Clinton. He was part of her protective detail. They made him part of the advance team. This is in 2012 when I started revealing, this stuff and collecting this information. By 2013, between 9/11 truth, the truth about what took place in Benghazi, with all the documentation that I recovered showing the 400 tons of man-pads that was shipped from Libya to Syria to be delivered to the FSA by way of Turkey. By 2013, when this truckers' ride for the Constitution came about, and it was by happenstance that I was connected to this group of individuals that was doing this thing called the Truckers' Ride for the Constitution. This is when things really started to hit hard, and I saw a very extremely organized effort. There were people on the ground in Washington, D.C. that were saying, don't associate with Pete Santilli. There were already rumors on the ground where people were starting to spread the rumor of me being an FBI informant. Okay, so
but this was after you became affiliated in some way with the Truckers' Ride.
Well, during the Truckers' Ride, we had people on the ground that were actually saying that I was an FBI informant. We actually have witnesses that were telling the truckers to stay away from me. Okay. That Truckers' Ride for the Constitution is when it really hit hard. The FBI informant thing hit super hard. They wanted to. The main reason for it was that the Truckers' Ride for the Constitution. We actually received over a 3-day period over that weekend event, 6 million people to our website. Our Facebook page. That's when our Facebook page really took off. We had hundreds of thousands of people that clicked like. So we were bringing a lot of, and I'm not, saying this to throw flowers at myself, but essentially we were reaching a lot of people, and the establishment, the deep staters, did not want that to happen.
Right.
So they had to do everything possible to separate me from my, I call them our steak and potatoes down home, Americans that just want to do something for our country and make things right. So essentially, this is what happened, to speed up the process. We were involved with, I still think she's a sweet lady. Her name is Zita Andrews. She actually came in as kind of like the spokesperson for the Truckers' Ride. Mm-hmm. There was this guy that actually originally started the Facebook pages, a whole bunch of them. His name was Ben Pam. And Zita Andrews was called in to help him, promote the entire event. And there's Zita Andrews on the screen. That's her. She's a nice lady, and she was actually the selected spokesperson. And I think she was also victimized by this very organized effort to gang tackle us and shut us down. They actually, Zita and Ben Pam set up a Facebook page that had accumulated like 80-something thousand fans, and Facebook had shut it down altogether. So they were cut off within weeks of the event. That's where we originally had reached out to Zita, and I was going to bring her on as a guest on my radio show and help promote the Truckers' Ride for the Constitution. And we went from helping her as a guest promote the event to all of a sudden now she had no Facebook page. She had no way of communicating with her audience. And I said, you know what, Zita? I said, we're gonna help you out here. And I said, I have the ability to get you to do a radio show. If you want to do a radio show once a day, I'll produce a radio show for you. Uh-huh. Let's set up. Not set up. We already had our Facebook page set up, the Guerrilla Media Network Facebook page. And I said, let's communicate through that page. I'll give you access to it as an editor. And then we did a daily radio show with her. one thing led to the next. Now, I gave you the document called Master Just the Facts.
Yes.
Let me scroll down. I'll give you the page number that I want you to go to, because this was really the line of demarcation. Go to, hold on one second. Let me go to my PDF here.
You're pictured here as a Sith Lord.
That's a very beautiful image, isn't it? Oh, yeah. You know what was wild about it is that I didn't fully understand. It was a multifaceted, multi-pronged. We had humans on the ground that were spreading rumors. We had trolls online that were doing things. And then we had gotten hacked. So it was a very sophisticated, multi-pronged attack upon us. And I didn't know what was going on. Then, guess what? Believe it or not, I actually saw the documentation that Edward Snowden had released. I don't know if you've ever seen the J-Trig expose that he did.
No.
He released top secret documents about where GCHQ. They actually had a PowerPoint presentation on how to affect exactly, and I'm talking.
Oh, I did see that. Yes.
Yeah. The J-Trig program and the instructional material that they provided to their intelligence people that were online hackers and trolls. The program that they were following as far as disparaging, getting into the threads, setting up websites, grabbing images and doing all that stuff, it was actually outlined line by line.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
I was familiar with the Glenn Greenwald article about this where, I have seen that PowerPoint presentation.
When I saw that, then it all came together for me. I said, this is what's going on, because it was so sophisticated. You've seen just from the very small amount of material that I have in my library, it's pretty overwhelming. They came at me from so many different angles. But this operational playbook, look at this: disruption, infiltration, ruse, set piece, false flag, false rescue, disruption, and then sting. Continue on down a little bit further. See that? Set up a honey trap, change their photos on social networking sites, write a blog purporting to be one of their victims, text colleagues. They were doing all of that stuff. And
Pete, I'll tell you something else. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but these are a lot of the same things that have been happening to me. Of course, we've seen so many people, and I know that you have only recently become aware of Crowdsource the Truth, and you and I have only just recently started talking, but the idea of infiltrating the network of trusted people and changing photos, using our images, using our graphics on hoax websites and hoax videos, writing blog posts purporting to be victims, fake texts, fake emails, fake comments, emailing and calling my colleagues and lying to them about me is something that is ongoing. So this is actually very relevant. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah, this is when I had a full understanding of what was going on, because you know what, at the time, as a matter of fact, go to page 10 of that Master Just the Facts document. Page 10. And I'm going to show you when this hit right here, there were a lot of things that were taking place, and I'm like, a lot of rumors. I'm like, that's okay. We had millions of people coming to our site. But you see that tweet right there, that first tweet?
T2SDA, Pete Santilli, where is the money?
Pete Santilli, where is the money? That date and time right there at 7:11 p.m. on October 12, 2013. That's when I said, what does that mean? I was confused by that. I said, what does that mean? Next thing you know, Evan Kozer on 10/12 at 8:28 p.m. I get this message. This Evan Kozer guy, he's actually a 4chan hacker type. He was in this, and then he found out that Vinny Eastwood, Zeta Andrews, and all these people were all surrounding me. He puts out this article. Pete Santilli shuts down donations for the truckers' ride and grifts the donation money, and that was absolutely false. That right there was the beginning of this whole episode. Okay.
Right.
All right. Now, in summary here, because I'm not going to dig into all the minutia. Look at down below where it says $500,000 was stolen off the truckers' ride for the Constitution.
Right.
Vinny Eastwood was either recruited or had he's now become a very an operative that for years has not relented. He probably gets paid for staying on top of, distributing this information. It's a lot of information. He's literally made it almost a full-time career.
Yeah, I saw some videos created by Vinny Eastwood, and I mean, here's the insidious thing, Pete. Even after having spoken to you and having you on the show, when I saw this video, or it might not be this one, but I saw a video by Vinny Eastwood talking about all kinds of different things that he does present information that seems compelling. It made me wonder. It made me say, wait a minute, what's up with Pete Santilli? And I'll be honest with you, I was busy and everything. I wasn't avoiding you, but it did cause me to think, is this true? It's just a natural human response. When someone puts something out there with a strong voice, a lot of people will, that thought is in your head now. You don't know if it's true or not.
Sure, which is exactly what it was intended to do.
Right.
This I would call it this, and I have everything that I have done right from day one, from that moment where that tweet was sent out. First of all, I have every single conversation with every single person leading up to when this hack took place. All of the conversations recorded. The $500,000 piece, if anybody ever had a question about that, I have it documented, a conversation with Zeta Andrews. And I said, Zeta, that was your PayPal link. I had nothing to do with any of that stuff. And she's like, oh, God, no. And it's literally on audio recording, real time, when I was having that conversation with her, that's what the rumors were that were out there. Now, I want you to go to page 20 of that Master Facts thing, okay? And I just want you to show our listening audience a couple of visual displays. Now, what you just described is your perception and the perception of others,
right?
Okay? On the front face of this Pete Santilli FBI thing, what I have is literally years worth of behind the scenes, and it started here. Behind the scenes, screenshotting, capturing their conversations. These are actually the hackers, the screenshots that were taken real time of when they were in my server, when they were actually on my website, and their conversations down below. And we actually archived everything. I have an entire database of every single step along the way. And we had counter trolls that were in 4chan screenshotting all of their bragging. Okay? So continue scrolling down.
Well, wait a minute. So tell us what we're looking at here. You're saying that these three individuals in your image are having a video chat or something? And,
they were.
And this is their live chat here.
Yes. Now, let me tell you what they were doing here. See, it's 2:31 p.m.-ish. They're bragging. We had screenshots. The reason why you're looking at those screenshots is those are the pictures of the people that were involved in this thing. Scroll down to page 24.
Page 24. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
24 is actually a screenshot of the FTP. Okay. On on October 29th. And those files, actually, are you on page 24?
I think
page
so.
25. Sorry, go to page 25. Sorry.
Page 25. No problem.
Yep, page 25.
Yeah.
Page 25 is the screenshot, and those were the files that were on my server. Okay? This is a significant event here.
Address to his secondary server. So, okay.
Yes.
So this is an FTP program talking about transfers, right?
This is on the hacker's desktop. This was a screenshot of them publishing it, and I'm just giving you a visual representation of what we caught them doing. We caught them doing that. We found out they were in my files. Those are my files. Everything
But
that was.
How did you get a screenshot of the hacker's desktop?
Let me share it with you in just a second here. Okay,
Sure.
You ready? Scroll down one more page. Just continue on down.
Yep.
And this is just another visual representation. I actually have the screenshot of every single conversation. But see that right there? That's the 4chan threads. We actually picked up that screenshot in the 4chan threads by clicking through on one of the links.
So they're publicly posting, hey, we've busted into Pete Santilli's server.
That's exactly what they did. Now, what I want you to do, if you don't mind, now I'm going to have you dig into this thing just so I can take you down the rabbit hole here. In the files that I sent you,
yeah,
I want you to go to the file where it says Terry K. Okay, she shall remain nameless, by the way.
Yeah, I've got it here. Yep.
And I want you to look at the file that says passwords - real or fake.
Terry K. We've got passwords, real or fake. It's a text file.
Yeah, file folder 8, and it's passwords, real or fake.
Yeah, I've got it here. Okay, let me see the best way to bring that up for people to view.
Yes, and you're gonna love seeing this. By the way, you wouldn't have seen it unless I walked you through this. This is how we knew what they did, right here.
Okay, so we've got the document.
Okay, now see that document right there where it says 5-minute Peter Santilli, whatever, Actley, advocate?
5-minute, yes.
Okay, if you scroll down, see the FTP server, 98.119.125?
Yes.
Log in as anonymous, have fun. That was my IP address. I found out through looking at the threads that the way they hacked in was through an exploit through Skype. They sent me a Skype message. I clicked on it. They got my IP address, and then blam. They literally published, they got into one of my servers like an idiot, okay, and I don't do this anymore. I put all of my social media passwords. And if you scroll down, continue scrolling.
Twitter.
Continue right there. Right. Stop right there. See where it says eFax?
Yes.
That right there is my eFax login.
And PIN number.
And my PIN number. Those were all my logins. They were on my server. Shame on me for doing that. But we literally found out exactly how they got into my eFax because, number one, I have never sent an electronic fax. I actually would send a fax right on my eFax. But I'm like, how could they have sent a fax through my eFax? Well, we plotted the timeline that it was they hacked in. They got into my eFax. Now let's go back to the master document.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, and go to page 28.
Yep.
On the 28th, okay, they had logged in to my eFax, and they sent an electronic version. They basically either create, I don't know how they did it, but they basically this is my eFax account right here. This was sent, and if you notice in the upper right-hand corner, 513-9977.
You're talking
in the upper corner of that window there of this, on page 28.
Yep.
See where it says 760-513-9977?
Yes.
Okay. That document was time dated 10/28/2013. And then you see in the date block there on the actual fax that it was sent on 10/28/2013 at 22:19 GMT. And the subject line was Operation Overtruck, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that was the physical. They had hacked in. We caught them hacking. We had screenshots of them bragging about hacking. We have downloads of all my passwords in the 4chan threads. I have every single 4chan screenshot following along chronologically exactly when they did this. They published the passwords. It was a gang tackling like you couldn't even imagine. This eFax goes out. Now I want you to scroll down to what was publicly put out there, okay? To the next page on page 29.
Page 29, okay.
Page 29.
Yeah.
What ended up being made public, okay, was that document right there. And there are very subtle differences, but and I don't know why they changed the document itself, but this document was sent and it says subject line Operation Outtruck Compromised, and there's a misspelling there.
Oh yeah.
On 10/28 at 21:31. Go back to the other document. Take a look at the date and time of the other document. That's the original. 10/28 at 22:19.
Right.
Okay. And it's Operation Overtruck. Now go down to the one that was made public. And it's 21:31:11 GMT. And by the way, I was in Pacific. I was in the Pacific time zone. GMT is actually right where GCHQ is located, by the way.
Right.
Which is in London, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's GMT time. But
right.
Operation Outruck Compromise. So I noticed that the original document had been altered, and then the story that was put out there was that this crumpled document was actually found by a janitor. And I mean, this was the story that was put out there. We had this thing documented. I'm like, these guys are, first of all, sophisticated, but they're putting out in the open a very, just a silly story. And we had caught them. Now, Jason, here's the bottom line. All along, I knew that I wasn't an FBI informant. I knew that there was a very sophisticated thing going on behind the scenes. And all I could do really was just to document. I recorded every single conversation. I screenshotted every single Skype conversation. We documented all of the hacking of the, into our servers. We documented everything along the way, including in the federal court system. Here's how I've been certified. In the federal court system, there had always been that rumor out there that I was an FBI informant.
Right.
My defendants, my co-defendants in the case would have had to have been told that if I had ever been paid $1 from the federal government, if I had been an informant, that they were required by law. The government had to come forward to tell them that. And in fact, I was certified in federal court by every single co-defendant, Clive and Bundy. Every single person will tell you that I have been deemed to be in a federal court of law to not be an FBI informant, period. Okay?
Yeah.
So I not only documented it back then, I was always back on my heels fighting these, the front face of this thing, like this operative out of New Zealand. And also Suzanne.
Who is the operative out of New Zealand?
This Vinny Eastwood guy.
He's in New Zealand.
He's in New Zealand. That's correct. He has not only been in, I guess, his task, and he's been charged with the task at, because they're probably 4 or 5 levels out, where the behind the scenes people that are giving the directives on how to do this thing, they use people like Vinny Eastwood. They'll use somebody like Suzanne Posel. They'll use people like Zeta Andrews to affect these attacks on somebody like me that they didn't want reaching millions of people with stuff about Hillary Clinton, doing a gun running operation out of Benghazi, or 9/11 truth, or the truckers' ride for the Constitution. So Vinny Eastwood is probably just a frontline, obsessive pawn. And I'm sure he gets paid to do this. I can't imagine that he would be doing it out of the goodness of his heart. I'm just assuming that he has to earn an income somehow, some way. Now, we do know that Suzanne Posel was not, I'm calling her an operative as well. She actually published the first and only the primary article that tied all of this stuff in together. She posed as a conservative blogger for OccupyCorporatism.com. She's working with me. She tried to get me to stop, and I have this documented as well. She tried to get me to stop conversing with Dr. Judy Wood and covering 9/11 evidence, and I refused to do it. And that's where we essentially parted ways. Shortly thereafter, that's when she published this article that Pete Santilli was exposed. Now, if you go on Occupy Corporatism,
I'm there.
Article that pretty much drove all the traffic to her site was the one, on my name. That article, Pete Santilli exposed, is no longer there. She took it down. She probably finally realized, and also had been contacted by. Oh, actually, is it there? Go ahead.
No,
and click
it's still here.
Is it still there? Click it.
It says exposed. Internet radio host Pete Santilli revealed as FBI informant.
Yeah, the URL must have changed then. Press Storm Media is actually a hired gun. So it still is there. Okay. It's just a different URL. If you click on these links to the original article, it was moved around. So
this person who is a Pete Santilli sympathizer claims to have documentation showing that Zeta Andrews placed donation funds into her personal checking account, it says.
Yeah, I don't know who these people are, but everything related to funds and our relations with Zeta Andrews and how we were actually not even in charge. We just offered up the help with Zeta Andrews. Because her Facebook page was taken down. She literally started out as a guest on the Pete Santilli show. Next thing you know, we had to adopt her because she had been so attacked. Her and Ben Pam. Ben Pam was the one that set up the Facebook pages. Now, we actually recorded all of the audio recordings real time as we went, because we kept getting the sophistication of the attacks was overwhelming. It was on the ground. The websites were being attacked. Her Facebook pages were being shut down. So we just documented everything as we went. The final telephone call that I had with Zeta Andrews was recorded. I actually provided you a copy of that. There's another one that's in that file folder, the audio files, is General Lee regarding Zeta's hack, and General Lee regarding the agreement. General Lee behind the scenes, I said, hey, look I'm a radio talk show host. Zeta started out as my guest. We've been helping to facilitate this thing and help you guys out, but General Lee, you're the one that's calling all the shots on this thing. He was the one that was guiding the whole, all of it, including who was going to be managing what and where, what links were going on what page.
Who was General Lee person?
General Lee is actually a trucker. He was one of the truckers. His nickname was General Lee. He was the one that had taken over when Zeta Andrews just basically at a certain point just lost her mind. I kind of feel bad for her. But she was overwhelmed by this very sophisticated attack upon all of us. But it was all audio recorded. That my involvement with the website and putting the PayPal link, for instance, was guided by him. They put up their PayPal links. I never had anything to do with any of the money. And here's another thing, is that it was certified in a court of law that at no point in time, they went through all of my finances because there was that rumor out there that I had $500,000 buried somewhere. And they went through my PayPal account, and my attorney at the time, it was funny. He said, Pete, he goes, basically, I've certified you to be flat broke. And I had never had any money come in during that time frame at all. Not $1. I think we collected in that particular month of October 2013. We collected somewhere in the area of it was something ridiculously low, like a couple $100 total in donations. And we have that documented as well.
Pete, it's a compelling story, and I have to tell you, I believe you, because what's happening to me right now is so similar. People coming to me, telling me to do things, gaining my trust, trying to set up these elaborate scenarios where they're groups of people instructing people over YouTube and Facebook and Twitter that don't send money to Jason or crowdsource the truth. Jason's doing all kinds of things that I'm not doing. People who have come to me to gain my trust only to turn around and start campaigns where they're emailing my associates and calling my associates and telling them false things about me. Networks of individuals that are making hoax videos with ridiculous memes that are intended to make me look silly. They love the memes, Pete. They love to put out a meme because I think what I've realized is by making counter memes is that, you and I could sit here for 2 hours presenting a bunch of compelling evidence, but it doesn't seem to grab the masses quite as quickly or directly as a single image making you look evil. That burns into someone's mind, and all this complicated discussion about dates and FTP servers and passwords sort of escapes most people, and they're not going to necessarily listen. But when you can make a meme and put it out there and put the face on a pig and show the person in a straitjacket where they belong, that upsets them because they know that people are going to start to realize that they're disgusting pigs and lunatics, and that's said with an image.
Yeah, now the origination of that image is from Vinny Eastwood himself. Vinny Eastwood is the one that's created all of these. He was the one, I guess, charged with the task, whether he's paid or not, of setting up all these Facebook accounts, of setting up all these troll. He's got multiple troll accounts, and he's done all of the imaging as well as these very elaborate stories. I mean, it sure does sound convincing. What's interesting about it is that everything that Vinny Eastwood has been out in the public putting out there, I have backed up with documentation behind the scenes to counter all of the info. And we've just been, we disassociated essentially from all of these people completely. Suzanne Posel, we disconnected from her. Let's say, for instance, if she says he's an FBI informant, well, I I don't even talk to her. So what am I informing at all? Most of these people, what we've done is we now have this siege mentality. We've pulled up the drawbridges. We've disassociated from all these people that were surrounding us that have been, it's a gang stalking type of tactic.
Yes.
With infiltration. Now, here's the most important thing that I can relay to your listening audience. It was overwhelming to me that they admitted this in open court. The FBI during the Bundy Ranch quote unquote investigation said that they had over 1,000 trolls in the threads. 1,000. They called them
FBI had trolls.
The FBI, and this is documented. The FBI had over 1,000 trolls in the threads on anonymous accounts, and they call themselves online covert investigators. And these people that are in our YouTube threads, they're in our Facebook threads, especially when they're anonymous. The older generation, ones that haven't been able to show their faces or don't realize the importance of doing that, they're still operating with anonymous accounts on YouTube. You might as well just consider them an FBI paid, online covert investigator. Their job is to get in there. And if you go back to as a matter of fact, go back to this. I want to show you this. Go back to the GCHQ document. I want to show you something very important.
Which was that? The fax?
The one on the Intercept.
Right.
The GCHQ JTRIG document. I want to show you an image there. Okay. So this is a very important image. Scroll down to the document. It has a chart where there's some. It's just scroll down to the one a little bit down further. You'll see a chart. Continue on. Continue on. Continue on. Oh, by the way, this shows the psychology of how to do this stuff. But see this anthropology, sociology, history, beliefs, elicitation. Continue on down. Right there. See that?
Yeah.
Identifying and exploiting fracture points. The reason why they're in the threads is because you'll notice that I'm a person who is broadcasting the truth about let's say an event like the Truckers' Ride for the Constitution. Okay. Mm-hmm. And these are things that push a group together. Okay. We've got shared opposition, shared ideology. We've got common beliefs, and we're coming together patriotically to go shut down Washington, D.C. with the world's largest traffic jam. Right. Yep. Their job is to get in there and create tension in those threads online. To do what? To pull people apart. Personal power, pre-existing cleavages, competition, ideological differences. Their job is to create enough tension and they actually go through a step-by-step process in how to affect that in the threads electronically. It's electronic war, it's psychological warfare.
That's right.
Online.
Cyber war by the FBI against the citizens of the United States, citizen journalists like you and I. And Pete, we should remind the audience that you spent 2 years in jail.
That's correct. That's correct.
Was that a result of FBI or whoever was doing this framing you? Why were you in jail?
Okay, now picture this. I mentioned, that I was covering 9/11 truth. They didn't like that. Okay, right. So we had built our listenership up. Then I had a CIA whistleblower as well as other FBI whistleblowers that were on the ground give me audio recordings to tell me that the Benghazi was a gun running operation. So obviously they didn't want that truth to get out there. Right. That put me on their radar. And our listenership had grown to the millions worldwide. Then the Bundy Ranch incident in 2014 happened. I recorded their brutality, put that up on Fox News, put them on blast. They were very embarrassed and were told by the sheriff on April 12th, 2014, you guys get the heck out of here. You guys don't need your, militarized equipment. Then fast forward all the way to January of 2016. On January 26, 2016, I broadcast that Hillary Clinton had received, at the time I broadcast that it was $140 million was tracked through the Clinton Foundation by people connected to Uranium One, who were connected to Southeastern Oregon, the Bureau of Land Management out in Southeastern Oregon. Right. Within 10 hours, I was put in handcuffs, and my arrest warrant was signed off by Attorney General Loretta Lynch, and I did not come out of that scenario for 619 days. So let's let the listener be the judge. Is it Pete Santilli, the FBI informant, or is it Pete Santilli that has a friend in the CIA that blew the whistle on Benghazi? Pete Santilli that exposed Hillary Clinton. And this is all dog. I mean, I broadcast this stuff out. They have almost military force applied to shutting me down. And so far, they haven't been effective doing so. And I relish each and every day when I find out that James Comey himself, who was responsible for my arrest, will hopefully one day soon be arrested here. McCabe oversaw our case as well. That guy's going to jail. And here I am broadcasting on your show, Jason Goodman. And I literally have the chills of pride to say that I'm living to tell this story to your listening audience. And I appreciate you doing this.
You know, Pete, with everything that you tell me, you're drawing me further and further to your side. I believe you. I believe what you're saying. And, you know, McCabe has been displaying incredible hubris, as has James Comey. I mean, James Comey's going around on this book tour like nothing's wrong, but James Comey has broken the law. James Comey, I've been told, has there's something called the NFIT, which is the National Foreign Intelligence Program. And Comey breached the Attorney General's guidelines for the conduct of a national security investigation. And he also violated the law by failing to follow appropriate procedure in declassifying the documents that he did after he was fired. So I believe what we're seeing are the actions of desperate men who know that the President of the United States, presently Donald Trump, is not on their side, and they anticipated Hillary Clinton winning, and things like throwing Pete Santilli into jail for no reason to be brushed under the rug and for
Jason,
them to be protected.
Something very, very important, and I have this. It is documented. Okay,
Yes.
Now I was dismissed. Remember, I was arrested January 26th for the Oregon conspiracy they charged me with. Right.
Right.
You know why I was dismissed?
Why?
Because we found out, and we're hearing that they fake or fabricate or change these FBI 302 reports. These are the investigative reports. They literally fabricated a witness on a 302 report that said that I was conspiring with the individuals in Oregon, and that's what gave them the probable cause to arrest me and indict me. And in fact, it was fabricated, and I was never even in Oregon. We caught them, and the witness came forward and said, I never said such a thing that's on that 302 report. We were going to present that at trial, and on the eve of trial, they said, Uncle. We caught them red-handed. We caught them also in Oregon, taking everyone that clicked on a Bundy Ranch or a Malheur National Wildlife Refuge image or post. All of their data went to the federal government. The federal government is actually the Facebook's largest data customer, by the way. That was all taken without a warrant. That was exposed up in Oregon, and we're actually bringing a class action lawsuit against Facebook for having done that. But Palantir was exposed up in Oregon. We exposed that they fabricated 302 reports, and James Comey himself was the one that gave the order to effect military force upon a group of protesters that resulted in the death of Lavoy Finicum. And this is an FBI right now that is under They were indicted. They're being prosecuted right now for having fired provocative rounds during that murder of Lavoy Finicum. They lied. They have some integrity issues, and it all happened on Comey's watch.
Pete, this is one of the most important shows I've ever done, because you, sir, are a victim of the intelligence agencies of the United States of America taking action against the citizens. And when we try to utilize our power through social media and through connecting in the way they are, they're attempting to stomp us down even further. I haven't told you this prior to now, but there is a very active and troublesome individual who is engaged in a campaign to try to get me indicted for a hoax that he and his brother were pivotal in arranging. They gained my trust, well, primarily his brother, gained my trust, told me certain things that came true. Obviously, when a con man wants to con you, he must first gain your confidence, okay?
Yes.
Then he told me information that was corroborated by news articles, that was corroborated by government reports. He stoked my fear by saying, oh, if this happens, it'll be another 9/11. They used one of the other operatives in their network, who's a very well-known YouTuber who happens to have the same last name as me. They used that operative to plant a piece of information the morning of this incident, saying directly to me, taunting me with expletives and other insults, that if I'm aware of a dangerous attack and I don't report it, that would be misprision and I could be guilty of a felony. So they're trying, well, that's what they said. I mean, you know, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but what I'm getting at is these individuals very carefully laid out a scenario that they are now trying to entrap me in, purportedly writing Department of Homeland Security reports and trying to get me accused of terrorism so that all of my rights can be sidestepped and I can be put into federal prison. I think it's very important that people that listen to other truther people like, I don't know, George Webb, I think it's important that we find out where this person gets $2,000 to donate to Robin Grits when he seemingly has no money. That's the same guy who called me crying like a baby when he needed me to pay for another night in a $100 hotel in Zanesville, Ohio, where he got pinched and questioned by the FBI for being drunk and asleep in his car. So it's an interesting story that you tell, because I see analogs to all of the things that happened to you happening to me right now. And the only advantage that I have, Pete, is that you've already been through it and that you are illuminating all of these facts for myself and the audience here and calling out the criminal operatives within the FBI and private contractors. It's interesting to me that this guy, Eddie, what's his name?
Oh, Vinny Eastwood.
Vinny Eastwood in New Zealand. Because, you know, just like you, I've been communicating with a CIA whistleblower, a guy by the name of Harmon Wilfred. And I've also been exposing what I believe to be a scam, a $440 million cryptocurrency scam on the blockchain-driven, cryptocurrency-backed social media network Steemit. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but you know, Pete, it's possible that it is a scam. We're still waiting for countermanding evidence from the people who are involved. Now, Pete, I'm showing right now the original Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channel, which in less than a year grew to 58,499 subscribers. I've spoken recently with Charles Walton, who after 12 years of YouTube video blogging and truth pursuit, he was kicked off. In 12 years, Charles Walton, who's an incredibly nice guy, very personable, very articulate, he had garnered 52,000 subscribers. And not that this is the fastest growing YouTube channel in the history of YouTube, but I think that growth alarmed some people, and I'll go even further to indicate a number that I think they really didn't like, which is 11,588,000 video views. Now, I joined YouTube in 2011, but this was just a personal account. It's even named Jason Goodman. I was just using this to view YouTube videos. I didn't really start making daily videos until I met this individual, George Webb, who I have come to believe is a beacon for truthers, for patriots. He puts out a channel that I believe is a limited hangout. Certain amount of true information, but it's designed to identify other people who are in this alternate news sphere, people who are turning to YouTube rather than ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC.
Remember the term honeypot that was referenced in that JTRIG documents to set up honeypots. You can follow their training material. They set up these honeypots. Let me give you another bit of interesting trivia.
Yeah.
Did you know that? And this was going to come out in trial, and thankfully that trial was dismissed because they were in for, oh my goodness, a whole bundle of truth coming out in that trial. Did you know that they worked for months, the FBI as well as the BLM? They worked for months to set up a honeypot and entrap everyone that showed up at Bundy Ranch. It's documented that they were online in January, February, leading up to April, and they were trying to lure out into the clearing. That's what the term honeypot is. You put that big pot of honey, and hopefully all the bears come up to it, and they're sitting out in the open, and you can just round them all up. And that's exactly what they did to us. They actually took pictures, the FBI did, of MRAPs and helicopters with gunships with FLIR equipment, and they took that imagery well before anybody showed up at Bundy Ranch, and they put it out into the internetosphere, and they actually provoked people to come out into the clearing to find out who would respond. Who are the militia people? Who are the supporters? And it was documented that they did that in advance. They essentially entrapped, knowing full well that people were going to go there to go get the quote-unquote cattle, to have the cattle released. They just wanted to see who they could round up and indict, and they in fact did. The key people that were indicted in the Bundy Ranch case were the ones that were reaching the most amount of people on social media. On YouTube, I had 100,000 subscribers with 50 million views. Joe O'Shaughnessy, a huge social media presence. Everyone that was indicted reached a lot of people, and they needed to take them off the streets. And they essentially entrapped everybody.
We're seeing it all happen again, Pete,
Yes.
My good friend Quinn Michaels, who's in the live chat on YouTube right now, he's been maligned, he's been attacked, he's put out a fun hashtag, which is hashtag TimePhone hack. It's a joke. It's an anthropology experiment. It's a psychology experiment. It's an artificial intelligence experiment. I would encourage you to hack the future, Pete, by just tweeting TimePhone hack whenever you feel like it. And Quinn's premise is simply by coming up with that phrase and tweeting it out, and now getting a bunch of people to tweet TimePhone hack, we've changed the future. Because people are talking about the TimePhone hack, these morons that are trying to stop us from revealing truth, important evidence coming from Harmon Wilfred about the black ops financing of everything from Iran-Contra to 9/11. My conversations with FBI whistleblower Robin Gritz, other FBI people that I've spoken to, Charles Ortel's information about the horrendous financial crimes of the Clinton Foundation, all of the work that we're doing at Crowdsource the Truth to find the truth, these guys want to suppress. And they go after Quinn Michaels because he's talking about artificial intelligence and some of the incredibly sophisticated technology that's being used to do this stuff. So I would encourage everybody on the stream right now, get involved with the TimePhone hack. Don't listen to Cat Eye or any of that kind of nonsense. I think those guys are part of it. And Pete, I have been talking about and investigating something that I've dubbed Operation Mocking Tube, which is a conglomeration of YouTubers and other social media influencers who have covertly joined forces to, sometimes in not such obvious ways, to advance this agenda. And I'm getting ready to announce a list of YouTubers who are part of this Operation Mocking Tube, and I think people will be shocked by some of the names. Most of those people know who they are, and they know that I know who they are. And I will enumerate the different sites, the different channels. I'll present the evidence that I have, the patterns that I've observed, the lies that they've put out there. And I invite them to come at me. As long as we've got a fair and level playing field, I'm absolutely happy to compare my evidence to theirs. And I'll tell you the other advantage that I have, Pete, over you. These guys that set you up, like Andrew McCabe and James Comey, they're running scared right now because the jig is up for them. They've been found out. and they're not going to be able to do the type of thing that they did to you. Pete, this has been an amazing broadcast. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I think you and I can do more broadcasts about this in the future, but
Yes.
I think this is a lot for people to chew on. And I have to tell you, you have my support, Pete, 100%. I believe what you're saying. I think you've presented credible evidence. My conversations with you on a personal level, I appreciate and respect you. And my instinct tells me that you do seem to be an honest guy. And that's obviously something that people can trick. But evidence, this is strong. If this guy, Vinny Eastwood, has evidence, I'd be interested in seeing it because...
I would love to see it, and absolutely. And I'll tell you what, at no point in time did these people ever put anything out and include me in their investigations and their hit pieces. And I will absolutely, positively, willingly participate. I have everything documented. I know that I am exactly who I am. You know, before we conclude here, I do need to bring up one important point, though.
Yes.
And I think you'll agree with me. Even through all of my experiences, I come to the world, you know, after securing my freedom, and I'm not bitter towards half of these people within our system. I believe in a government that is of, by, and for our people. I'm not anti-government. I'm not a domestic terrorist. I want to go get the bad guys. But I believe that those bad guys are half of the people within our FBI, half of the people that are within our CIA, if not less than that. We need to recruit and appeal to those good people within the FBI to go after the bad guys that are doing the wrong things, that are in cubicles down the hall from you. Your leadership has betrayed you. Bundy Ranch, they almost got you killed. The FBI, they have so disparaged your name, and it's time for you to align with the good people that are trying to put the truth out there. Don't attack us. Join us. Thank you.
Absolutely. My guest right now is Pete Santilli, and people should follow Pete on Twitter at Pete Santilli _. Make sure you listen to the Pete Santilli Show, and you can get there by going to thePeteSantilliShow.com. Pete, I'm going to reiterate what I said the last time you were on the broadcast. You, sir, are an American hero. You have served time in jail for no good reason. They have taken things from you that can never be given back. And for you to remain positive and keep going, you're a role model, Pete. I'm really pleased you could join us tonight, and you're welcome back on this program anytime at all, sir.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate the time. Thanks for taking the time out. I really, really appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, Pete. I'm going to be back on air in just about 2 hours with Larry Klayman, and we'll have a follow-up conversation about this and about the stunning impropriety at the FBI. Pete, thanks. And everybody out there, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir.